Howdy guys, Rex here. I didn't want to pollute this message for the last year, so I didn't ever give it. I'm going to try my hardest not to. It's hard to do that though, because we're all men. We typically take, Saturdays off to actually go see God's creation, see what He's built, and appreciate all that He has made that is good in His creation, and have rest in what He's done to give us salvation in Him. Today was weird. I'm just going to tell you the story. I'll just tell you the story because I'm going to pollute it if I just don't tell you exactly what happened. So we're driving to just get out because my work is at home, so I get away from my work, which is to get out here. And my intention was to watch some kind of online service deal that a friend was going to recommend for me. And I had something really weird happen, which is you need to drive west and south in that direction. And last year he taught me to start listening to those subtle instructions that we often poo-poo when we hear them. We don't want to hear them. We think that it's something else. I'm like, okay, this is our day off. We'll go and see what's going on. And so I started driving west. I start overthinking it. I'm like, oh, what, I'm trying to battle plan, what his plan is. I don't know what it is. And so me and the wife are driving west. And he says, take this road here. Okay. So I take this road. He starts just having me drive down in this general direction, this part of the country. On the way, I felt a very, 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 very strong feeling. Hard to explain. And there's a lot of you that don't know what I'm talking about, and that's okay. This video is made just for those people that are intended to see it. So I don't know how many people are going to get this. Maybe a couple, maybe a lot. I don't know. But if you are called to see this, and if you're called to be anointed to do His work while we still have time, that's what this is. That's why I'm posting this. So on the way down here, I had this very strong feeling. I wish I would have used this platform to do His work and not mine. And it grieves me horribly that I have failed to fully leverage this platform just for Him and not for me. Not for my business, not for the 2A community, which is also necessary for certain things, but we're all going to be held accountable for what we've been given. And it's starting to weigh on me pretty heavily. What a guy could have done. Time is very short. Time is very, 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 very short to get his message out. He's about to slam the door shut. He's going to slam the door shut. We're going to make our choice. Which God do we want to worship? Do we want to worship the God that created the universe, or do we want to worship our earthly God? Okay? This is the test that Elijah went through. Elijah had to make a message to send to his own nation, telling them, how long can you be split between two gods? You either pick the one that created the universe and saved you, or you pick Baal, which in the original language means boss, or kind of an earthly boss, the ones that we handed over the keys to a long time ago. Not the big boss, not the creator, but the earthly boss. That's what Baal means. And so he went on Mount Carmel, had a showdown with all the priests of Baal. Fire came down from the heavens, consumed the rocks, if you remember the story. And after that, King Ahab and Jezebel were so angry at him, the government, because he had publicly disrobed their gods. Okay? That Elijah got very, very anxious that they were going to kill him. They're going to whack him. So he ran off into the wilderness, and there he was nurtured by the Spirit, and he was given food and water enough, and he was ministered unto so he could get through his hard time, thinking, they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me, they're going to kill me for saying this. I can't believe what happened. Even though he called down from heaven for God to deliver the fire to consume the rocks, and he's seen it with his own two eyes, he was still nervous about that. God loved him, and God nourished him and said, okay, I will alleviate you of your fears. I'm going to come and pick you up with a limo. And so a chariot of fire came from the heavens and took Elijah up into the heavens. And his robe dropped down out of heaven, and Elisha came and was anointed with the same spirit that Elijah was given to carry on the message. On our drive down here, I was thinking of the story because this was really heavily laid on my heart last year when I was on my sabbatical, so to speak. Very heavily. That specifically, like anoint the prophets, the Elijah message, two different guys. And so as I'm driving, I'm hit with this feeling like an outpouring, an unprecedented outpouring, the second latter rain that it talks about in the book of the spirit of Elijah that would be rained upon the earth. And it hit a guy. And it's funny how he works, because CCR comes on the radio. Immediately, the second I have this idea, remembering about the second outpouring, the latter rains, and the CCR song, Have You Ever Seen the Rain? It's like, okay, that's just one small detail. So we keep driving, and he's like, drive in that direction. So I'm driving, me and Mrs. Rex, and just kind of learning, and I start thinking about, wow, the reason I haven't delivered any of this encouragement or this message is because I would pollute it. I'm polluted right now just by being here. I'm not clean. I am a human. I have sinned. And if you remember, and so the story of Moses, even Moses, who led the people out of Egypt, he was the tool of God that helped lead the people out of Egypt. God led them out of Egypt. They crossed the Red Sea. They go through Passover, which is coming up next week. Very important Passover this year, guys. And for those that have ears to hear what I'm saying, know what I'm saying. This is a very, very important year for Passover. I kind of think if you want to be in the camp, that's how it's done. And you have to make a decision whether you want to be in the camp or not. You got to discard the flesh. You got to discard the leaven. And you got to embrace the Passover lamb and fully digest everything you communicated. Fully digest it. You don't just eat it. You don't just hear it. But you fully digest it. You think about it. And what better time when the world is locked down and perfectly quiet to hear that deafening silence that they probably had on the first Passover, the night that the destroyer came and passed over their homes, because they had chose to believe that the blood of the lamb they painted over those doorposts would be effective in protecting them. This is a recurring theme. This is happening again. You guys have read the book, right? You will not survive anything unless you are sealed in him. Okay, to continue with the story, we're driving. I'm thinking about how even Moses polluted the message. He was awesome. Moses was like the man. And he was told to strike the rock with the rod, and it would break open and deliver living waters. And it made a huge lake where they had 12 wells. So you can find it. It's right now in the land of Midian, which is modern-day Saudi Arabia, just across from the Gulf of Aqaba, from Nuweiba Beach in Egypt. And you can look right there. And it's in northwest Saudi Arabia, a mountain called Jabal al-Lawz, Mountain of Laws. It's where the historical Mount Sinai was, not where the tourist trap is. And they found the rock that was struck. Where you see the erosion, and they found the ancient lake bed that was created and all the ancient Hebrew wells. And below Jabal al-Lawz, which the top of it was burned to a crisp. Just on the outside layer, the inside of the rocks are not burned, so it's not like truly volcanic igneous rock. But the whole story, they found this spot. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen the pictures of the actual rock that Moses hit with a stick. They found it. Like even the Prince of Saudi Arabia went down there and took a look at it and was like, whoa, they They chain link the whole place off, and they'll arrest you if you try to look at it. But so I come over the hill. I'm thinking about how Moses, he actually wanted to be cool, and so he polluted the message that God had, and he hit the rock too many times with the stick. He was explicitly commanded to hit it one time. Okay? And he hit it twice because he wanted to demonstrate how, whatever, he had a little bit of an impurity in the heart, started getting a little cocky, a little haughty, wanted to be the cool guy. And for that, he was not allowed to even come into the promised land because he added to God's message. Okay? When we add stuff to God's message or subtract from it, it's a really bad deal. That's why I was scared and didn't want to deliver this to you guys, because it's a heavy deal if you get something like that. So he's driving. And this is important for all of us to remember, because if you're called after this stuff starts to come to pass very soon, if you're called to be one to speak on behalf of the Almighty and profess what he has said in his word, profess his commandments, profess his love and his good news of how he's going to deliver us again, just like he did back in Exodus and other times, multiple times, on various levels, literal, spiritual, personal, etc., infinity times over, right? If we pollute that message, or if we try to add ourselves into it, or if the message becomes about us delivering the message, which is very hard not to do as a human, we will not get to go into the promised land. So here's something that I'm supposed to show you guys. I was told to drive down here. I had no idea. I don't know if you guys can see that. See that rock on top of the hill there? You got the little finger on the left side and the bigger chunk on the right side. That is a doppelganger of the rock in Midian. It looks almost just exactly like it. I come over the hill right as I'm thinking of that, about not polluting his message and about the rock that Moses struck, and that's right there. Right after he's talking about the latter rains coming down, and he plays the song to confirm, because he knows how skeptical. I'm hyper skeptical. I'm doubting Thomas, whatever you want to call it. I need stuff to be proven to me, because I'm not as faithful as I should be. Okay? So then Mrs. Rex and I are like, wow. We stop here and we just look at that, and then boom, 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 boom. Starts delivering the message. Do not pollute my word ever. Don't add anything to it, and don't do it for yourself. And then a thought came. It'll be a little noisy. I'm going to drive a little farther. Something else happened just now. Okay? A thought came, which is the seriousness of why? Because we don't want to miss out on getting into the promised land, right? That ain't the point. The point is that we're polluting his message. We don't want to have this selfish motivation to do his will just so we can get a prize at the end and get to go into the land flowing with milk and honey. That's not why we should be motivated not to pollute his message. It's because we don't want to screw up his character, screw up what he told us to do. Okay, guys? So if you continue on later with the Elijah story, like I was talking about earlier, he was consumed a chariot of fire came and picked him up. Like a burning chariot came down and picked up Elijah, and he went up into the sky. Elisha, his buddy, wanted to get anointed with the same spirit and continue the mission, because Elijah was burned out. He was exhausted. And so Elijah goes up into heaven, and out of the heavens drops Elijah's robes, his clothes. It was basically rags, right? Big, hairy, buff dude out in the wilderness, right? And Elisha gets that, and that encourages him to continue on with the mission. So what would you know? Mrs. Rex and I drive another 250 yards, and I don't know who put this here. I didn't do it. I did not do this. I didn't want to talk about this. We looked at it, I said, no, I think this is just for us. We're not supposed to share this. This is right below where the rock I just looking. And I thought that this is like, I don't want to talk about this as too weird. Plus, I don't want to be haughty and show it. However, Mrs. Rex felt, hey, why did they write it down then in the old days if they didn't want people to know about it? The point of God giving these clues to us is so that people can share them. So I'm going to share it with you. So Elijah goes up into heaven, his robes drop down, and Elisha is anointed with the same Spirit to carry out the message. One solid theme. The latter outpouring of the Holy Spirit is coming. The second great rains of Elijah's Spirit in the last days is a final witness under this history line that we're going on earth. I don't know what that thing is hanging on the tree. Why would that? It did not blow there from the wind. That's a heavy garment. I didn't hang it there. Someone put it there, not me. And this is the middle of nowhere. There ain't nobody out here. God is real. And when you are quiet enough to hear his voice, he still speaks to us. He'll speak directly to you. If he's speaking to you at this moment, and if you understand and if you are called to do his work according to his purpose and not yours or not mine, not to be a cool guy, not to be seen as a prophet, not to say I told you so, but to carry out his message and work for him and him alone. He will talk to you. Don't use this perfect time of silence. Don't waste it. The door, I believe, is about to slam shut. Let him who is clean be clean. Let he who is unclean remain unclean. And then he's going to start pouring it out. And we're going to see everything come to pass that he wrote down. Everything is lined up. Do you know what the word corona means? It means crown in a lot of languages. Crown. This earth longs to have the true crown be its authority. The return of the king. Passover is coming this week. Unleavened bread. And then first fruits. The Feast of First Fruits, which celebrates, if you look into it, the high priest exits Mount Moriah, right? Exits the mountain right at sundown on the end of the normal Shabbat. And early Sunday morning, which is actually Saturday night, he exits the mountain. The priest comes out of the mountain, out of a hole in the side of the mountain, the high priest, and he delivers the first fruits offering, the first gathering of the harvest. Delivers it straight to the Father. And then, over the summer, everyone works the fields, and the great harvest comes. That's what we're waiting for now. Okay? If you have ears to hear what I'm saying, there's a lot of work to be done in a very short amount of time, and his laborers are few. So if this is calling out to you, get to work.